Hey basketball guys, we have news. Let's go to more news from the Golden State Warriors, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your. The Warriors face the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 5 and winning is the only alternative to achieving their goal of reaching the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, some problems are plaguing the Warriors. Stephen Curry is seriously injured. Jimmy Butler's production has dropped. He also suffered a minor injury. The unreliability of players such as Moses Moody, Tracy Jackson-Davis and Brandon Podziemski. And the good news is that coach Steve Kerr is giving more minutes to Jonathan Kuminga, and he has resurfaced with high scoring and still brings athleticism to the team. Jimmy Butler is expected to miss Game 5, but fortunately it has been announced that he will be able to help the Warriors, and we hope he has a great performance, as he did in the regular season. It's set, Stephen Curry is out of the playoffs and Jimmy Butler will play in the game. In news that should surprise no one, Curry's grade 1 hamstring strain hasn't healed enough for him to play in Wednesday's elimination game in Minneapolis. It was always going to be a long shot that Steph Curry's hamstring evaluation would clear him for a return in Wednesday's Game 5. The Golden State Warriors dispensed with the suspense, announcing Tuesday that their star would not play in Minneapolis in Game 5. Even before the Warriors listed Curry as out on the injury report, it seemed unlikely he would play. After the game, Draymond Green said that he and his teammates didn't want the Warriors to push Curry to return too soon, claiming, "We don't need Superman. The team does need Superman, or they need to find a way to win without Curry." After 3 games where they struggled to score consistently against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and especially to make three-pointers, without the all-time three-point leader. Adding Jonathan Kuminga to the starting lineup has helped, but the Warriors have had trouble getting consistent scoring out of others. But playing Curry isn't an option, even if the team wanted to be risky with his health and rushing him back. With a hamstring strain, even if Curry was willing to risk further damage to his leg, it's likely he still can't run just a week after his initial injury. He suggested as much himself when he heard Green's comments Monday night. We may learn more about Curry's hamstring health after his evaluation Wednesday. There's even a chance, albeit slim, that Curry could be cleared to return after the 3-day break between Game 5 and Game 6, scheduled for Sunday to accommodate the Golden State Valkyries season opener Friday night. And we may learn more about Steve Kerr's strategies for Game 5, as he's running out of players to bench at this point, and Pat Spencer might fight a ref if he's out on the court too long. But as Anthony Edwards correctly guessed, the plan is still to get to Game 6 and hope to get Wardell back. Jimmy Butler is probably the only player with enough offensive talent and the leadership skills necessary to keep the Golden State Warriors championship hopes alive, as the team travels to Minnesota for an elimination game on Wednesday night, May 14. Butler very nearly carried Golden State to a Game 3 victory at Chase Center, dropping in 33 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. However, his production and usage rate dipped severely in Game 4. The Warriors took a one-possession lead into halftime before the Timberwolves blew them off the floor in the third quarter and grabbed a 3-1 lead in the series. Media members questioned and criticized Butler, perhaps rightly so, after the defeat. But, as it turns out, the 35-year-old forward who led the Miami Heat to 2 NBA Finals appearances in recent years was battling an ailment that hurt his play on Monday night in San Francisco. Steve Kerr called Jimmy Butler's illness yesterday definitely impactful, Anthony Slater of The Athletic reported via X on Tuesday, May 13. He went from 26 shots in Game 3 to 9 in Game 4. Kerr, but he's feeling better, and he'll be ready to go tomorrow. Steph Curry remains out but did make the trip with the team. Warriors coach Steve Kerr makes strong Jonathan Kuminga statement before Game 5. The Golden State Warriors will need to play a near-perfect game on Wednesday to stave off elimination. Without Steph Curry in the picture, the Warriors have a daunting task ahead of them as they look to secure a road win against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 5 of their second-round NBA playoffs series. Curry has already been ruled out due to a hamstring injury, which means that the rest of the squad will need to step up. Golden State has no other choice now that they're down 3-1 in the series. Simply put, a loss on Wednesday will mark the end of their campaign. One player who will need to be at his very best to give the Warriors a fighting chance against the Wolves is Jonathan Kuminga. The 22-year-old forward was in and out of the lineup for head coach Steve Kerr in their first-round matchup against the Houston Rockets, but the team has had to turn to Kuminga in the Timberwolves series amid Curry's injury absence. It appears that this will be the case again on Wednesday. When asked how he feels about Kuminga being in the center of the Warriors' offense, Kerr responded with a strong statement on the 6'8" forward. Jimmy Butler's lack of involvement in Warriors' Game 4 loss gets Steve Kerr admission. The Golden State Warriors will go to battle on Wednesday night in Game 5 without the services of Stephen Curry, who hasn't quite recovered from the hamstring injury that he sustained in Game 1 of their second-round matchup against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Warriors will be facing long odds in winning this game, as this elimination game will be on the road and they will be without their best player, which means that Jimmy Butler will have to channel his playoff alter ego just so they can stave off elimination. Butler, however, looked like a mere mortal in Game 4, coming off a heroic effort in the Warriors' heartbreaking Game 3 loss over the weekend. The 35-year-old star put up just 14 points on 5-9 shooting from the field, and he was clearly looking like he wasn't 100% from a health standpoint. Not only was Butler continuing to deal with the hip injury he sustained in Round 1 against the Houston Rockets, he was also dealing with an illness in Game 4, as revealed by Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. Nonetheless, Kerr expects Butler to be at his best with the Dubs season hanging in the balance. Jimmy was under the weather last night. He really was not feeling well and that definitely impacted him. Everyone knows who Jimmy is. He's one of the great playoff performers and I expect him to have a big game tomorrow, Kerr said on the Willard and Dibbs show, via 95.7 The Game on X, formerly Twitter. For the Warriors to stand a chance on the road in Game 5, Butler will have to perform like he did in Game 3, when he scored 33 points and was aggressive in attacking the basket. He better stay away from anything that could cause him to be under the weather tomorrow night. The Warriors acquired Jimmy Butler back in February with the intention of tapping into his playoff version that's led under-talented Miami Heat teams all the way to the NBA Finals. Butler, however, despite giving it his all, has simply ran into some injury woes or an illness that's prevented him from building a rhythm of dominance. Warriors clear Curry for light on-court work. Pre-Game 6 evaluation is next if series is still going. Stephen Curry has been cleared for shooting drills and light on-court workouts despite a strained left hamstring, giving him a chance to play for the Golden State Warriors if they force a Game 6 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Warriors re-evaluated Curry on Wednesday before playing their must-win Game 5 without him and announced he was making good progress in his recovery from the injury suffered in the opener of the second-round series. If the Warriors beat the Timberwolves, Curry will be re-evaluated on Saturday, ahead of Game 6 in San Francisco on Sunday. There's a 3-day break scheduled between Games 5 and 6, affording Curry extra time to heal. Curry traveled with the team to Minneapolis, but he already had been ruled out for the fourth consecutive game when the official injury report was released on Tuesday. Curry's first career hamstring strain, one of several injuries that have waylaid star players during these NBA playoffs, has made it predictably harder for the Warriors to space their offense and generate scoring. They are averaging 17 turnovers per game in the series and shooting only 36% from three-point range. Starting guard Brandon Podziemski shot 9 for 40 from the field over the first 4 games, including 3 for 17 from beyond the arc. He is just 30 points in the series. Warriors' fatal flaw was exposed in disappointing Game 4. They could need major changes this offseason. As the Golden State Warriors' playoff run faces its end, with a 3-1 series deficit to the scrappy Minnesota Timberwolves, it has become exceedingly clear that the roster, as it is constructed, has severe flaws. In the absence of superstar Stephen Curry, who has missed almost the entire series with a hamstring strain, the Warriors' offense has looked largely flat, and their key young players, for the most part, have failed to step up. Now, unless Golden State is capable of winning 3 straight games, they will head into the offseason with the need to make a series of moves to shore up this roster. Warriors need more veteran presences to surround their stars. Apart from Jonathan Kuminga, who has had a noteworthy resurgence back into the rotation in this series, the Warriors' young rotation players have been largely absent, directly resulting in their lackluster performance as a team. In the playoffs, Brandon Podziemski is averaging only 9.7 points, Moses Moody is averaging 6.6, and Quinton Post is averaging 3.8. In a series in which every possession has been at a premium, Golden State has been incredibly turnover-prone, and, in a matchup in which their defense could have been their saving grace, they have failed to close out on the perimeter and defend effectively in the paint. Now, with Kuminga entering restricted free agency this offseason, it is likely too late for the Warriors coaching staff to make amends with Kuminga's camp, and it is likely that another organization makes an offer that the franchise cannot match. It has become clear that, in order to maximize what remains of Curry's career, Golden State must formulate a more trustworthy and stable roster this offseason, quite possibly at the expense of some of its younger supporting players. For starters, defensive whirlwind Gary Payton II will be an unrestricted free agent this offseason, and retaining him should be a top priority for the team. Though he averaged just 15 minutes a game this season, his impact was massive, and he could continue to be a trustworthy presence on an overall shaky roster. Next, the Warriors must also obtain a bona fide backup point guard to lead the bench unit when Curry rests. While the team's funds will be limited as a result of the Jimmy Butler contract, players such as Tyus Jones and Cameron Payne will be available this offseason and could be suitable options to shore up this roster. While these moves will not immediately launch Golden State back into playoff contention, they could, when coupled with the continued development of the younger core, result in a stronger and deeper team come next postseason. Warriors need to sort out secret identities before Game 5 with Timberwolves. How can anyone expect the Warriors to get on the same page offensively when they can't even decide which superhero Steph Curry is? The Golden State Warriors are facing a daunting Game 5 against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They need to connect better on defense, play quickly but under control on offense, and trust their teammates. And they need to decide what superhero everybody is already. At times during Game 4, the Warriors looked confused on defense, often helping off three-point shooters in the corner and yielding open shots. But they've become even more confused with their superhero metaphors. It was all so simple when the playoffs began. After the Warriors defeated the Memphis Grizzlies in the play-in game, Jimmy Butler dubbed Curry Batman, calling himself Superman. Then, with Butler out for the Warriors' Game 3 win over the Houston Rockets, Buddy Hield put up 17 points and announced that he was Batman's manservant, Alfred. Things got confusing when Hield scored 24 points in the Warriors' series opening win over the Timberwolves and declared in his joint media session with Butler that while Butler was still Robin, Hield was now going to be Batman. Then, talking about the unlikely return of Curry for Game 5 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Draymond Green started referring to his longtime teammate as Superman. Now no one knows what's going on. Is Curry still Batman, or has Draymond promoted him to the role of Superman? Clearly Hield was just wearing a Batman costume for one game, but since the superhero confusion began, the Warriors haven't won a game. Let's clarify. If Curry is Batman and Butler is Robin, Hield can still be Alfred. Kerr is Commissioner Gordon. Nikola Jokic is the Joker. Jordan Poole is Jason Todd, the Robin who died. Kevin Looney is Lucius Fox. Jonathan Kuminga is Jean-Paul Valley, aka Azrael, because he's powerful and skilled but unpredictable. Azrael was Batman's replacement when Bane broke his back. Draymond Green is Bane. Moses Moody is Catwoman, because sometimes he's good for a long time but then he's bad again and no one really knows why. Mike Dunleavy, Jr. is Damian Wayne, because he showed up in the mid-2000s and fans hated him, but he did some good things later. Tracy Jackson Davis is Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, because Steve Kerr flips a coin every game to determine if TJD starts or doesn't play at all. Quinton Post is Wilhelmina Wayne, the only canonically Dutch character we could find in the Batman universe. Brandon Podziemski is Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl, one of the few canonically red-haired characters in the Batman universe. Gue Santos is Vicky Vale, because they both specialized in taking unexpected shots and they have gorgeous hair. Pat Spencer is Curtis Croc, aka Sportsmaster, who is the only Batman villain who uses lacrosse equipment in the commission of his crimes, along with exploding baseballs, exploding hockey pucks, and something called knockout basketballs. Anthony Edwards is the Riddler. Dante DiVincenzo is Salvatore Moroni. Naz Reid is the Scarecrow because it's very scary when he's open behind the three-point line. Rudy Gobert is Guy Dax, who is a French neurosurgeon who dresses up like the Hunchback of Notre Dame to commit crimes with henchmen dressed like gargoyles. I am not making up these characters.